All right, everyone, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. Going to be breaking down the Thursday two-game slate that we have. Let's go ahead and get into it. And so, as always, I do like to start off with a quick slate preview here, guys, going over each game in terms of the Vegas expectations for it. Two games where, in terms of the spread, kind of relevant here. So 5.5 points is a decent spread in the preseason, and 6.5 definitely is a pretty big spread there in the preseason. So very interesting there, I would say, in general. The reason for the Patriots is they're extremely banged up and they're not expected to play their starters. We're also thinking that for most of the teams, guys, that's going to be the general expectation for week 3 in the preseason. Starters are really not going to play that much in the preseason. Now, I would tend to believe that the Panthers are 5.5 dogs, mostly because of their poor quarterback play. Jack Plummer had a pretty bad game last game. We'll talk about that in a second. But both games are relatively lower scoring. I would say this game, the Patriots and the Giants, probably a little bit higher than I would have expected there at 37.5, especially given that this game is at 35.5. But both games are kind of going to be lower scoring. Now, let's go ahead and start off here with the Carolina Panthers. Again, we're not really expecting the starters to play much in this game. So I do think we're going to expect a lot of Jack Plummer in this game. But again, he did play pretty poorly in the last game to the point where they ended up going out and signing Bryce Perkins. Bryce Perkins is a former LA Rams player. He's someone that played in the UFL, obviously being their MVP there as well. We'll see if he gets any run in this game. It's definitely interesting there. I think this was kind of out of necessity. They're like, we need to get another look at another quarterback. Maybe they could end up splitting the playing time. We could end up seeing that happening. But if we just kind of take a peek at some of the player prop bets that we were getting, he is at 90.5. We're going to notice that there really isn't going to be a quarterback on this slate where we need to go out of our way to target them. That's going to be the most difficult part about this slate. Now, I will say one thing that I really enjoyed while watching some of the preseason film was how Trevor Etienne looked. To me, he was really the only Carolina Panther that stood out to me on film, making a bunch of big plays, had a couple of decent runs called back, had a really nice return in the game, but just really looked smooth and solid in terms of the runs and plays that he was able to make in last week's game. Be interesting to see how much work he ends up getting in this game. And he was kind of their workhorse running back in the last game, guys, but only 17 total plays in that game. They were spreading out the workload for that offense. Now, it makes sense, I think, for him to get the most work. I don't think we're going to see Chuba Hubbard. I don't think we're going to see Rico Dowdle too much. But Etienne, as you guys will see, is just going to be more of a secondary option. We are going to get two pretty easy running back plays a little bit later on. And while we're looking at this, I do want to call out the receiver snaps. David Moore got a decent amount of work. Bryson Tremaine got a decent amount of work in that game. I kind of expect them to still get some more work. Hunter Renfrow is someone that played in this game. He's someone that I would expect to get some decent work. So we are getting some players like that we could get to. But again, kind of given that poor quarterback play from Jack Plummer, who played 34 snaps in that game, it's interesting there. And again, guys, like with Trevor Etienne, like it is worth calling out. Like he had 7 carries, 18 yards. It's not going to show up in the box score. So I think that would kind of leave some people to not be on him as much. But he did look, I think, solid. And so it does make sense for him to get some work in that game. That game was pretty much a blowout right away, guys. 3-20 in their last game against Houston. We do see a decent amount of targets, but they really just didn't get off that many total offensive plays in this game. Okay, 23-12. Very low snap share for the Panthers, and you would expect them to get more work. But that's also probably why we are getting them as 5.5 dogs in this game. Now, tight end wise, this is probably going to be the spot that we try to get to. I would assume we'll see if Sanders ends up playing in this game. If he ends up sitting, he might sit because he's a starter. If he ends up sitting, maybe Mitchell is someone that we can think about there. They did really spread out the snaps last week, but James Mitchell would be kind of the one I would want to default to there. But really not getting any standout plays there for Carolina. I also want to call it an interesting situation here for the Pittsburgh Steelers with their running back room. So Lou Nichols has been someone that's been getting a decent amount of hype, even though he's gotten extremely limited work thus far for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And so here's just one of the runs that we saw from him. I mean, this was kind of a special run. It's kind of one of those runs where you're watching and you're like, how does he stay on his feet? And I mean, this is a pretty fun play there. Pretty awesome. And then I got to show you guys this play as well. This is a play where it just stiff arms the player to the ground and gets up the field there for a pretty sizable game. That was game 1 against Jacksonville, and then we saw the first one was game 2 against Tampa Bay. But yeah, guys, he only ended up getting 7 plays in that game and really went off in those 7 plays. Don't get me wrong there. But I do think we're going to expect some of Caleb Johnson. It does seem like they're still trying to get him a pretty healthy look. But at the same time, I do think that was part of their game plan last week, was to get Caleb Johnson a lot of work. And so we'll see if he ends up playing. Right now, it does seem like Jaylen Warren is going to be the starter. But then you would still expect kind of like Caleb Johnson to be the next man up, even though Kenneth Gainwell is listed there. We expect it to be Caleb Johnson. So be on the lookout for any news there. Maybe Lou Nichols is someone we could think about. And then just kind of going back to some of the preseason prop lines that we're getting, Skylar Thompson is going to be the one that has the highest, along with Joshua Dobbs there. We'll talk about Dobbs in a second. I don't know if he's exactly going to get that much playing time. Skylar Thompson does make sense to get a decent amount of playing time in this game. Okay, so we know that Rodgers is not going to play. How much can we expect Mason Rudolph to play at this point? Probably not that much. I do think it makes sense to get an extended look at Skylar Thompson again, because that is what they have done thus far. Obviously, carrying 5 quarterbacks is always a little bit annoying. We don't know for sure. Again, I don't know if we're necessarily needing to get to him, but he is kind of the one that has the highest prop lines. Running back-wise, I kind of think we can pass up on them, because I don't think we can really truly predict the workload. Receiver-wise, I mean, sure, they are pretty thin here. Robert Woods is someone that's very interesting, I would say. He played a lot of snaps in the last game and kind of needs a good game to be able to make this team. Maybe someone we can look at. Romaine Wilson is someone that could still get some work in this game. Ben Skoranek is someone that's a little bit banged up. Don't really expect him to play in this game. And so we're going down the list, and we are seeing that we're probably going to have some players we can get to. Brandon Johnson is kind of a veteran at this point, someone we could potentially think about. Lance McCutcheon, kind of the same thing, guys, where just at this point, 2 veterans that sure can get some playing time. I would rather be targeting like a young player that we can kind of get hyped about in terms of like being on. That's not the Steelers receiver room right now. They're all kind of veterans at this point. The receiver that I probably would want to be on would be Rock Taylor, but he was waived by the Steelers. So that does create a decent amount of opportunities in terms of playing time, in terms of players that we want to be on. But again, I'm not really excited about all of them too much, and that's more because we're going to get better options later on as well. Tight end wise, kind of the same thing. But I will say, yes, we could probably toss in a little bit of Lance in there, maybe a little bit of Brandon Johnson as well. Be fine with that. So let's go ahead and move on into the evening slate. Kind of teased it a little bit here, guys. The New England Patriots and the New York Football Giants. And I want to start with actually calling out a receiver prop bet that we are getting here for the New England Patriots, because we're getting a pretty massive prop line difference between Prize Picks and Underdog, guys. This will be a play that we're on, don't get me wrong here, but I wanted to call this out for anyone that's maybe placing some bets. On Underdog, guys, this line is at 23.5. That is a bet that I would be hammering right now. I'll probably be doing the prop betting video tomorrow morning. And so I'm assuming that because I'm calling it out, it's going to get bumped. So I want to give you guys this bet before it has the potential to get bumped. A really solid edge, I would say, just in general. And let's actually start there. So this is the Patriots receiver room as it currently sits right now, guys. Extremely banged up. Okay, I think we can safely expect Diggs not to play, Williams not to play, Chisholm, who's been kind of a preseason stud for us this preseason. I was actually really shocked at his ownership on the last slate, like 16% owned. He was basically locked. That was strange. Kendrick Bourne, we're not expecting to play. Jalen Polk, we're not expecting to play. And Javon Baker, we'll see if he ends up playing in this game as well. That leaves him then with Demario Douglas. I'm not exactly sure how much he'll play in this game, given the fact that he's a starter for this team. Keyshawn Boutte also is someone that has been getting a lot of hype out of camp. I think his roster spot is pretty much secure. And you also look like someone like Matt Collins, who at this point is a veteran. And, he's a pretty solid veteran at this point. Again, I don't necessarily see him getting a lot of work here as well. And so that really leaves us with a reduced amount of receivers that they can be on. So Giles is a player that makes a bunch of sense. Now, I will say, didn't really look good in his last game. I will say that, like slow. He got the ball in some nice spots. And, ended up getting 5 targets in that game, 4 receptions, 24 yards in that game. And then I also want to call out Jeremiah Webb as well. Only 3 targets in that game. I kind of like him more as a talent. But in terms of prop betting, I'm a little bit surprised that, again, we were getting that line for Giles just because he basically should play the full game. Now, the issue that we have with him is that I don't know if we can necessarily expect Joshua Dobbs to play that much. And I wouldn't say Ben Woodridge looked terrible. Looked serviceable. Not exciting like we would want Joshua Dobbs to play a lot. And so again, I just want to pull up the passing yards prop bets. We are kind of hoping that Dobbs does play. He is at 99.5. Okay, like that would be nice. I like to use kind of one of the first games of the preseason. Like Devin Leary ended up getting a bunch of playing time in their first game, the Baltimore Ravens' first game, where Cooper Rush played like 2 series and then basically was out, and that was Devin Leary. All the Baltimore Ravens players that we were on were basically trash because Leary's just not that good. And then we saw it last week, guys. One of my favorite players was Walker, the receiver for the Baltimore Ravens, and he was under-owned because, well, people didn't realize that probably would be a Cooper Rush game. And so that's my thoughts here as well. It's like Dobbs playing a half, very good for the pass catchers. Woodridge is not a complete lost cause. Like, again, he looks serviceable-ish, okay? But I'd be much happier if Dobbs ends up playing a lot. Now, we don't have that just yet. It would make sense for Woodridge to get the majority of the work. And I do think it's worth just calling out Mike Vrabel's tendencies. Typically doesn't play the starters too much. It's very much moderate there at that point. And we do know his tendencies as well. Typically does want to rush the football a decent amount. We see this is basically the most, guys. Rush attempts 35.6. And if we go kind of back to their stats as well, we see 34 rush attempts in that game. Now, they did throw the ball 36 times as well. Kind of a fun game last week against the Vikings there. Max Brosmer looked pretty good for the Vikings as a whole. It'll be someone we touch on later on this week. But yeah, I do think I want to call it the rush attempts here as well, because I kind of think we're just locking in these players to a decent workload. Shane Watts, 10 carries, only 15 yards. I will say most of that was not blocked well for him. A better running back definitely probably gets double those yards, though. And then JaMychal Hasty, 11 carries, 47 yards. He looked good. And like snap count wise, let's just take a quick peek here. Again, they're going to be with a lot of players. They're going to be out, which is going to lead to a lot more snaps to like Giles, who ended up with a decent amount of snaps, and Webb as well, who ended up again with a decent amount of snaps with Ben Woodridge. And so it really just depends. Do they want to get a good look at those players? If they do, Dobbs is going to play. Now, if they don't really care about that, then, and they might not, honestly, like it's the preseason, they might just be like, let's get out if you're healthy. Now, I do think just looking at the running backs, guys, it does make sense for JaMychal Hasty to get some work. The 4th string running back for this team, Terrell Jennings, ended up sitting last game, and we have already gotten that confirmation that he's going to be out in this game as well, which I do appreciate finally, even though he doesn't have the Q tag. I think we can kind of confidently play JaMychal Hasty, and we might as well play Shane Watts as well. It makes sense for those two to get a bulk of the carries in this game. Should be a nice floor there. And so receiver-wise, we are probably tacking on Giles and Webb as well. The issue that we have here, guys, is like these are a lot of players that we know are going to get a lot of playing time. I don't think we can expect like a big game out of them. Honestly, one of my favorite plays on the slate is actually just the Giants defense. I thought they looked really good last week, and I thought they swarmed to the football a lot against the Jets. And to me, that was encouraging. Like that's a team that preseason wide is fired up, good to go. And so I kind of like the Giants as well, even though I'm stacking a bunch of the Patriots players as well. It's a very weird thing that happens in the preseason, a decent amount there. Tight end wise for the Patriots, we might be looking at some okay plays. Westover, not expected to play. You got Hooper and Henry. Probably not going to play, right? So we're looking at Bell. G. Scott's an interesting player. I would say he'd probably be the tight end I want to get to the most, but basically just a toss-up between 4 players. Throw 4 darts. Use whichever one is closest to the bullseye there, pretty much. They're splitting playing time. That's kind of just the expectation. I'd probably go G. Scott there, though. So let's go ahead and jump on into the Giants. So Giants-wise, I do think it makes a lot of sense to continue to get Jackson Dart as much reps as you can. And so to me, he should be the top quarterback play on the slate. We're going to take a peek at Underdog and see where his lines are at there. And yeah, they have him at 114.5. So it makes sense for him to get a lot of playing time. He had 16 pass attempts last game, 137 yards, a passing touchdown as well. Kind of a cheap passing touchdown, if we're being honest. Don't really know why they showed the play. If you guys are curious, it was kind of like a fake pitch out where the tight end leaks across the middle, and it's just a wide open play to Greg Dulcich in the end zone. Just an easy play. It's like, why are you showing that though on film? Always a weird mental game that coaches do there. But he's kind of the top easy quarterback play because he's a rookie quarterback. It makes sense to get him some work. You don't need to play Russell Wilson in this game. Russell Wilson looked good in the first game, in the last game. Just play Jackson Dart. That becomes an issue, though, because we basically have to load up on some of his pass catchers. Now, we do need to take a peek, though, at the running back room as well. So Cam Scatterbo, we don't know for sure if he's going to play. I would expect him to play in this game. I would imagine, though, if he plays, we're not expecting Devin Singletary or Tyrone Tracy. If he sits, we're probably seeing one of those two play, but not all too much. It makes sense. If he's healthy, if Cam Scatterbo is healthy, it makes sense to get him a decent amount of work in an actual game situation. So he's been practicing. I think we can assume he's going to play and be active in this game. Just how much work does he get? Is he limited at all? Again, with it being the preseason and a player that's probably going to play for you throughout the regular season, I tend to believe that those are players that if they're active, they're healthy, and if they're healthy, they're going to play kind of a normal work share. That being said, now I don't know if our kind of workhorse running back throughout the preseason, Dante Miller, for now 2 years in a row, I don't know if we can necessarily trust him to get as heavy of a workload as he's gotten. He's really went off in the last 2 games, guys. 100 perfect yards in the first game. He's their leading receiver throughout the preseason as well, with another good game last week. I'm going to put him in there for now. I do think he would still get his work. I don't think Jonathan Ward is going to get that much work. It is kind of one of those situations where you have your 1 and 2 already. Tyrone Tracy Jr., Devin Singletary. Maybe Cam Scatterbo gets a lot of work, but let's just trust Dante Miller at this point. So then looking at guys, receiver-wise, they are kind of deep, and that is what I don't like about the Giants. That is what makes them difficult. And if we're looking to stack, I'm probably more looking at the tight end position, although they got 2 tight ends back in this game as well, so don't necessarily love that. That's going to be Bellinger and Chris Manners there as well. So I don't love that. Greg Dulcich has been someone that has been productive. I think we could probably still roll with Greg Dulcich. He is fighting for a roster spot, more of a receiving tight end, as we have seen thus far this preseason. I think I'd be fine with that. But yes, let's take a peek at the receivers. And yes, guys, this is going to be kind of difficult here. Okay, they did really spread out a lot of the snaps. Now, they did get a lot of snaps in general. Bo Collins, I want to call this out, guys. Bo Collins had a very big play. Now, he doesn't end up scoring this touchdown, just as an FY, but very, very nice throw from Russell Wilson. This is one of those plays that kind of stands out to me as like someone like, maybe because like he had those started reps and kind of hits this big play. Maybe it's someone I should think about playing in best ball drafts or drafting in best ball drafts. Now, he did end up short of the goal line. They actually gave Tyrone Tracy Jr. one shot at it, and then they actually brought in Devin Singletary. That could be a thing to monitor. Like, honestly, that could be an annoyance, whether it's Devin Singletary or Cam Scatterbo being a goal line running back in replace of Tyrone Tracy Jr. I think that kind of makes sense. So just kind of be prepared for that. I didn't like that we saw that there as well after that big play. And so this is kind of one of those situations where, like, has he shown enough to not play? Like, are they kind of trying to hide him? I don't really know, right? We don't know. It's annoying. It's a guessing game there. Then you also have Montreal Washington, who is someone that has been getting a ton of hype out of camp. He's someone we could definitely think about. And then I want to call it another player who kind of showed some pop, kind of showed some juice, if you will, juice wells. And so I do want to call it like the amount of targets he got, guys. 5 targets in that game. Now, only 3 receptions for 13 yards. The thing that I like about it, though, is manufactured touches. I talk about this a decent amount in the preseason. If you can get a player that's going to get 1 or 2 plays designed to them, get a little bit of a floor there. Hopefully they pop a big play, one. That's pretty huge in the preseason. And I mean, just look at this. This is ugly. Look at the amount of players that got targets. Like, we hate that. That is not good. We just want to play the running backs, but for playing dart, we got to try to get lucky and hit on the receiver that scores a touchdown. And hopefully it isn't Greg Dulcich with his 1 freaking target scored a touchdown as well. So that is the difficult part. And honestly, ideally, I'd probably just not play anyone from the Giants in terms of pass catchers, but we kind of have to. And it's difficult. Honestly, I don't know at this point which one I would go with. Maybe they just keep throwing the football to Dante Miller and we can get a touchdown in that regard there as well. So I do just want to pull up the 9-to-5 lineup builder, see kind of what its initial thoughts are here. So we're going to force a QB stack with a pass catcher. So that's a tight end or a receiver here, guys. Then we're just going to click run just to see kind of what the top lineups are going to be. Dobbs, Caleb Johnson, Trevor Etienne. Again, I don't think we want to do that. I think we basically would want to be locking in Jermichael Hasty, Pat Freiermuth. We'll see. I mean, whatever. We can leave that in there for now. That's a placeholder. Giles, I love. Afton Chisholm is pulling in because he has prop lines coming in. He's not going to play. We're not expecting him to play at all. He's had a massive preseason. He's looked good. He's making the team. Take him out. Put in Webb. That's who we're playing instead, who is a similar type of player to Chisholm. I'm kind of expecting Webb to have the big game, but those are kind of the top 2 receivers. So I'm okay with what we have being presented to us right now. And now, guys, that is going to do it for today's video. I do appreciate you being here. I also appreciate a like on the video. That does help out the channel a decent amount. Subscribe to the channel if you guys have not done so before as well. If you guys would like access to any of the preseason tools or any of the prop betting tools or all the tools available on the 9 to 5 website, you can get access to all those for a low monthly cost of $10 a month. If you guys are interested in potentially playing on Underdog or Prize Picks, just make sure to use the promo codes in the links in the description below. They are actually both right now play $5. So basically place one bet and you guys will instantly get 50. That's going to be on your first bet there. So take advantage of that on Prize Picks and Underdog. Do appreciate it. That's going to be all, guys. Thank you for watching. Good luck with all your bets. Comment if you guys have had a successful preseason. I know last slate was a lot of fun there. The Monday Night Football slate and the Sunday Night Football slate was actually a little bit more predictable than expected as well. So hopefully you guys have had a good run as well. Thanks for watching. Good luck. And as always, let's keep cashing.